Let's take about 5 minutes. Let's get us in the right frame of mind. So let's go through step 1. All right, so let's claim our space.
Oops. Can I hold a good one? Is that okay? No.
So think about the places that you will be going to tomorrow, places that are important to you in your future, the people that occupy those places. Let's claim those spaces right now. Good. Okay, let's go to step 2. Step 2 is we're going to clear those spaces. I would suggest you start working in multiples of at least 1,000 for each swipe of God's hand. Okay, at least. So let's take some clearing time. Excellent. Keep going just a little bit longer. Good. Okay, let's go to step 3. Step 3 is we're going to give permission and allow the energies of God, Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, angels, anyone else who wants to help us. Let that energy coming through. Okay, we're letting it come through with joy and gratitude. And imagine that all resistances are gone and you're allowing huge floods of that energy going through your body. It's going straight through the earth, and as it's going through the earth, it's affecting everyone on the face of the earth. It's now going back through heaven, and now back through us again. Let's go to step 4. Step 4 is that we're looking at our energetic selves. We're looking at the brain, heart, and spirit areas, chakra system, any other systems that you want to include here, that's up to you. Okay, so let's allow that energy to get very strong, very bright, and evenly distributed across the brain, heart, and spirit area. Sure that as we pursue our goals, our desires, that all 3 of those areas are unified, all working together. Okay, step 5. Let's bring the energetic circle into place. See your physical bodies standing there. Let's work on ourselves first for the next few moments. Send your joy, your gratitude. Send your statement about 2015 into you. Include also your character statement into you. Think of the strength that you want, the courage, confidence, the ability to relax, to release the stress. Think of the spiritual insights that you're going to allow yourself to have. The answers that will come so naturally to you, it'll be amazing. Okay, now let's bring in others to the circle, and I would ask for requests right now. If there's any request that people have, please make it known now. Just let us know what you want us to do. So, are there any requests?
Just continue
helping Ruthie and her family.
Okay, very good. Okay. Any other requests?
Virginia.
Good, very good.
Brian.
Good.
Nathan.
David. Wendy.
John. Derek.
And I'm going to be a little bit more specific. One of my patients had their home burgled a couple of weeks ago. Her initials are FR, lives in Louisiana, so I would ask you to keep her in your mind. Let's let her live with confidence and courage that they won't be coming back. And to the burglars, well, let's encourage them to do the right thing. Let's encourage them to see the joy and gratitude of doing honest work, returning everything they've stolen, and making restitution. And I mean that honestly. Let's let that happen. Anyone else?
Isis.
Good,
World.
good,
Higdon.
good. And certainly our president and our Congress. Okay. Anyone else? Anything else?
John and Diana.
Okay.
Children everywhere.
Very good. We need one more.
Celeste.
Good. All right, guys, you tell me. Are we done now for the moment?
Yes.
Is that a yes? Yes, yes, we are. Good job. Good job. Good work.
Okay, shall we get started?
Yes, we shall.
Glad you got it for us.
Okay, after this class, we'll have 2 more classes to do. So I figure for this class, I'm going to talk a little bit more about risk control and position sizing, which I started last week, but I didn't quite finish on the risk control and position sizing, so I want to continue. I'll give you some examples and some class exercise that we can all work through together to get a better understanding. Then for the next two classes, I will go into some case studies about some trades that I did for the past month, for the past 30 days. Some of the one that I did very successful, some of the one that I did not so successful. So I want to give you the both end of the spectrum here. And I want to show you how I set it up, how I got out of the trade, so at least you guys to see how I do option trading. Because primarily what I do with trading is trading options. Trading options give me a lot of leverage, versus when you trade stocks, you can only hope that will go one direction. When you buy it, you hope it will go up. When you short a stock, meaning that you sell something you don't have, you're hoping the stock will go down so you can buy it back at a lower price. So you sell first and you buy later. Kind of have like, think a little bit about that. Because most of us, when you buy something low, you sell it when it gets higher. But when you short a stock, you sell it high, you buy it back low. Does that make sense? No?
Say it again.
Okay. When you short a stock, meaning that you don't have anything in your account. So the question is, how can you sell something you don't have, right? When you short a stock, how can you sell something you don't have? What they do is the brokerage will allow you to borrow their stock. So when you are shorting a stock, you're really borrowing something from the brokerage for you to sell it to somebody else with the hope that your stock will go down in price in some future time. Then you can buy back. Then when you buy back a lower price, you're literally returning that stock to your broker. You pocket the difference. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's what they call shorting a stock. Okay. But your account will have so much money before you do that. But when you're trading options, you don't have to. If you're trading those easier options like buying a call, buying a put, But when you are selling something, when you're selling some option, then there are some restrictions from the brokerage. Because when you're selling some options, the brokerage afraid that you'll make a mistake. And if you're selling something you don't have, they want to make sure your account will have enough money to cover your position. So that's why they will give you a margin call when your position go against you. Okay?
You're gonna cover some of that next week?
I will cover some of that next 2 weeks.
Okay.
When I'm going through the trades that I did, then hopefully I can tell you a little bit about that. Okay. But again, if you want to know about options trading, you really have to, like, if you are a good reader, you read books, or you can get on websites. They have some webinars, free webinars. You really have to know that. Otherwise, coming here one class a week, even listen to me talk about options, it's not going to serve you guys any purpose. Okay. I mean, anyway, it may whet your appetite a little bit, but then you you will have to know it before you really jump in. Especially your paper trading. Paper trading, no consequence. But then when you're learning how to paper trade, you really hope that you can make some gain when you paper trade. So it will give you the confidence when you're trading with your real money, then you can also make the same kind of return. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so all of you have a handout. So we're going more into risk control. Why do I keep talking about risk control? Because risk control is so important. If you are looking at trading as a business, you have to know how much are you risking to get what percent of reward, what they call the risk to reward ratio, right? Just like when you run a business, you are risking your startup capital and hope that you will bring more money back. Otherwise, what's the point of starting a business, right? So there are some risks involved in starting a business for some expected return. So you have to know that when you're trading. So risk is the amount of money you're willing to lose if you're wrong about the market. Because that's your risk. That's what they call the risk capital. Okay? A lot of companies do that, right? I mean, when they invest in some project, they want to know what's my rate of return. When you put in this amount of money, and so they want to know the percentage. Same for trading too. So in the trading world, if you look at the first box, this is called the initial risk, or R for short, and it will come apparent to you later on. So to most people, risk seems to be an indefinable fear-based term that is often equated with the probability of losing. Now, in trading, you have to accept the fact that you're going to lose. You're going to lose sometime. Even those top fund managers, I believe a lot of you buy mutual fund, right? A lot of you do, right? None of people buy mutual fund? A lot of you do, right? A lot of you buy mutual fund, right? So a lot of those even those top mutual fund managers, they are not right 100% of the time. If they are right 60% of the time, they're very good. They're considered the top. They only right 60% of the time. That means 40% of the time they're wrong. But the key is what? You cut your losses short and let your profit run long. Okay, so those are the trading golden rules of trading, and that's what I have on the second box. So let's look at some examples. So for you to understand, what do I mean by the risk? Okay, example one: you buy a stock at $50 and decide to sell it if it drops to 40. So $10 is your risk, right? What is your initial risk? Your initial risk is $10 per share. So in this case, 1 hour is equal to $10. Does that make sense? That's how much you're willing to risk if the position go against you. So that 1 hour is $10. That is your risk that you're going to take. If it drops to 40, you're going to sell no matter what. Okay? So so that 1 hour is $10. So example 2, you buy the same stock at 50, but decided that you're wrong about the trade if it drops to $48. So at 48, you'll get out. So what's your initial risk? $2, right? So your initial risk is $2 per trade, so 1 hour is equal to $2. Okay, does that make sense? Because that's how much you're willing to lose. You set your stop loss. When you get into a trade, you hope that your trade will go up. But if it goes against you, then you want to get out. The total risk would be based on your position sizing and how many shares or contracts you actually buy. Okay, so that 1 hour is only like your risk per share. But if you're buying 100 shares or 1,000 shares, that your total loss will be your 1 hour times whatever share you own. Okay. So one example I want to share with you. How many of you heard of a company called Cisco? Most of you do, right? Most of you do. I bought Cisco almost 15 years ago. Yeah. I bought it when Cisco was in around 20s, in the low 20s. That was 15 years ago, okay? And because Cisco was the darling of Wall Street. You know, back 15 years ago, Cisco was the leading internet network equipment provider. I mean, they keep building campuses in San Jose and Silicon Valley. I mean, they were expanding like crazy. So I read the report, I like the numbers and all that, so we took some position with Cisco. And then I watched the stock go up, okay, from 20-some to 30-some dollars, 40-some dollars. I keep looking at the number, the number looks good, and we fell in love. I fell in love with the, and then I fell in love. She looks very attractive. Okay, she looks very attractive. All the numbers look right, the earnings per share, the profit margin, the revenue growth, the capitalization and all that. We fell in love with the stock. Then the stock keep moving up, and because more mutual funds are buying the stock, okay, it will drive the stock price up. The market shares and all that of the networking gear market, okay, they gone up to like 50s and then like 60s. Then when they get to like 50, 60, we get a little scared. It's like, it's already like 3 times of our money. And when it's going up, we keep buying more. Because I said, we keep looking at her and say, hey, this is more attractive, this is more attractive. Everyone is buying, right?
All right.
What happened is that when it get to like 60-some, I think it never reached 70. Then it start dropping down into the low 60s. Then the high 90s. Then we start looking at some magazines, some newspaper, and some analysts or some mutual fund manager was selling that stuff. And I told Andy, I said, wait a minute, some mutual fund manager that's selling that stock, and they are saying that Cisco met with some competitor. I think it's a Juniper, some kind of Juniper company. Okay, it's a small outfit, Juniper Network. Okay, oh somebody know. Okay, okay. They was cutting into a small share of the Cisco market, and they were afraid. Okay, some mutual fund manager was like, hey, that may pose a threat to Cisco. So the Cisco stock continued to drop, and we look at the stock and said, wait a minute, this cannot be true. I believe in Cisco. Cisco is the king of the market. I don't believe it. Okay, so although there are already signs about the stock may not sustain that high level, but we didn't sell. I told Ann, should we sell? I said, no. So,
Exactly
so-
right.
because we are committed,
Do that.
and back then we don't have an exit strategy too, okay? So 50 we didn't sell, and it dropped to 40, and I said, wow, the stock was at high 60s, now it's at 40s. Maybe it's an attractive buy, maybe I should buy more. So I bought a little bit more,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to justify what? Being right,
There you go.
Yep.
okay?
Yes.
And what happened when I bought some more at 40s, it dropped to like 30. Then I realized, wow, my gosh, wait a minute. Then it dropped down to 30s, and it dropped pretty fast too. When it dropped pretty fast. When it go up slow. Then when it dropped down to like 20, back to where our buy point is, I said, we got to pull the trigger. So I believe we sold all our stocks, okay? We sold all our Cisco holdings. And then the stock continued to drop down to the low teens, like 13 or 14 or 15 or $16. Okay, then it stayed down there in that range for many years. I don't know what Cisco is right now, but looking at that stock, Cisco was the darling of Wall Street. Every fund manager owns Cisco. Cisco was expanding like crazy. I mean, nobody thought they would challenge the position that Cisco owned that in a networking, industry. But that just tells you one point. If you are trading, even though you're investing, you invest in stocks, you may want to look at your exit strategy. Because if the stock gone all the way up to like high 60s, we could get out 50, we still make twice or even more. Even though we drop to 40 some, you still make double the amount of money. But if you don't have an exit strategy, that may drop below your buy point. And then you get into what we call the loss trap, right? Last week we talked about loss trap. When you're in a loss trap, when you start looking at your statements, you are ignoring, you are in a state of denial. Remember like 2009 when the stock market dropped very, stock market dropped to like what, 40, 50%? Dow Jones 45. How many of you stopped looking at your account balance online? No, come on, be honest. You stop looking at it, right? Because you're just afraid. You're just like, how low could it go? Then you're really panicking. But a lot of people buy during that time and make a lot of money. And a lot of people sell at the right time to make a lot of money. When people are panicking, just like what I think Warren Buffett said that when people are optimistic, he's very cautious. He's very fearful. When the overall majority is very optimistic about the stock market, then he's become very fearful. He will want to sell. When people are panicking, when very fearful, that's the time he will buy. Because the majority of the people are wrong in the direction. Because majority of the traders are what? In a herd mentality, right? You follow the herd, you follow the crowd, then you're always wrong. But if you have a stop loss, if you have some of your trading rules, it will get you out. The question is, are you able to follow your own trading rules? Or when you go against your trading rules?
How would you have established and known where to establish your exit for Cisco when you didn't know how far it was going to go up?
You can keep pacing it when it goes up. You can set a very close stop orders. Okay, you can.
I understand that, but how would you know where you were going to put that stop order?
I should have known that when you get into the position in the first place.
Well, I understand you should have.
The key is, if you're able to at least get your principal back when the stock double,
Right.
you can sell half.
Okay.
You already got your money, your own money in your pocket already. And you're playing with the house money, so to speak. Then when it goes, then you put some very tight stops. Whenever if it keep going up, fine. But if it retreat a little bit, let's say 5%, if the highs keep going up, if you said, hey, I'm going to sell, let's say 50% of whatever you own. When the stock retreats at 5% from the high, will get you out 5%, it'll get you 50%. And if you retreat a little bit more, you get out the rest.
Okay, I got you.
Okay? So the key is to really have an exit strategy. You have to know where your exit is when you get into a position. Okay, now time for any other questions? We okay? Okay, now let's go to class exercise that we can do together. You buy a stock at $40 when they plan to exit at $35. You sell it at $50. What is your profit as an R multiple? No, what's your risk? Your 1 hour is what, $5, right? You sell it at 50. So what is your profit? 3? 2. You make $10, right? How much are you willing to risk? $5. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. So you are making 2 times your risk. 2 hours. Okay. So whenever you trade, you need to have that in mind. What is your target? Okay. That's your rate of return. That's how much you're risking. Not your entire $40, but it's how much you're risking. Okay? So number 2.
So you'd be risking $10.
No, you're risking
$5.
you're risking $5.
$5, yeah.
You're risking $5.
But you made,
$10. Yes.
yeah,
So 10 divided by 5 is
yeah,
2
2
hours.
hours.
Right. So the answer is 2. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Number 2, you buy a stock at $60 and plan to get out if it drops to 55. However, when it goes that low, you don't sell. Instead, you just stop looking at it and hope it will go back up. No, none of you would do that, right? I mean, none of you are better than that. It doesn't. It becomes part of the headline news, business news, involving corporate scandal, and eventually the stock becomes worthless. What's your loss as an R multiple?
12. 60 divided by 5, 12.
12. Yep. You're right. Wow, very good, Sherry. Wow.
I was good at math.
Wow. Okay, turn to the page. Second page. Number 3, you buy a stock at 50 and plan to sell it if it drops to 49. However, the stock takes off and jumps $20 in 3 weeks when you sell it. What's your profit as an R multiple? 20. You see that, right?
$1 times 20.
$1 times 20. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's how much you're willing to risk. If it drops to 49, you're going to sell.
But it went up to
But it went up to 70. Went up, went up, jumps $20. So really, the answer is at the bottom of page 2. Okay, just in case you miss it. Okay, so are we okay on the risk control?
Didn't even look at that. You had us captivated.
I thought about not including the answers, but I said no, in case somebody didn't catch what I'm saying. So I include the answers at the end. Okay, so it will allow you to do some review or refresh your memory in the future. Okay, position sizing. Position sizing is important because no matter how good as an idea is, you don't want to risk your entire training account in that single idea because things could go wrong, right? Even though you got a stock tip that is from a very good friend in Wall Street, this is a must-win. Got it? It's going to go up. You don't want to risk all your money into one single idea. So you want to do position sizing. Position sizing is how much you should invest into a single idea. Okay? So now, suppose you have a portfolio of $100,000 and you decide to only risk 1% on a trading idea. that you have, you are risking how much? $1,000. Makes sense, right? You have a $100,000 portfolio, you're risking 1%, so 1% of 100,000 is $1,000. So that's how much you're willing to risk. So on the box below that, this is the amount risk on the trading idea or trade, and should not be confused with the amount that you actually invest in the trading idea. Does that make sense? Right? What
the
you?
risk.
No,
Oh, you don't understand? Okay.
no.
Remember the early example that we did, right? When you buy a stock at like $50, you will sell when it drops to 49.
Right,
So you're risking what? $1,
right.
okay? So let's say you purchase 1,000 shares of that. Okay, so you're risking $1. So $1 times 1,000 is how much you're risking. But your overall position on that stock is much more than that. 50 times 1,000 is whatever.
50,000.
Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense?
That
So-
makes sense.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about.
But
Is
when you say
how
that
much
you
you're risking.
decide to risk only $1,000 on
Right.
any given idea, a trade,
Right.
But if there, you
But
said
you
you have
said
a
that doesn't
portfolio of
mean-
100,000.
Right. You have a portfolio of 100,000. You only later on some example may make sense
Okay.
to you. Okay. Just bear with me for a minute. Okay. So that's your limit. Okay. You decide to risk only $1,000 on any given idea. You can risk more as your portfolio gets bigger, but you only risk 1% of your total portfolio and on any one idea. That's how much money are you willing to lose if you're wrong about a position.
and
Not-
that means a stock, one thing, no.
Well,
That many dollars. So
on
on
that
this
many
on
dollars on that
100,000,
portfolio.
you decided you're not gonna risk anything more, you wanna keep 99,000, you're only gonna risk that you'll go down $100,000. That's all you're gonna go down. You're gonna make sure you protect your 99,000 out of the 100,000.
You're only gonna go down
So you got
$1,000.
1%,
Yes.
and that's $1,000 that you're willing to risk.
I get that, but on any one idea, so
Yeah,
that
that's-
doesn't
That's
mean
just an
that you
example.
spend
Yeah,
That's
on
a
any-
confusion, that's a confusing
Yeah.
factor, because
On the,
it says any one idea, so
Okay.
I may have 5 ideas, so that
Yes.
means $5,000.
Just one trade. This would
5%,
just be one
right,
trade.
in that case, you will be risking $5,000.
Exactly.
Because you are risking 5 ideas. And if you're willing to like, hey, I want to trade 5 stocks.
Yep.
And the question is like, can you watch those 5 stocks simultaneously, or can you only watch 2? Somebody can watch, 2 and probably 1. In my case, I like to watch 2, because my trades are under a week, so I want to keep an eye on it. So I go in and go out. 2 ideas for me. So depending on how much time you have and all that, okay? So let's look at the paragraph underneath that. Now suppose you decide to buy a stock that was priced at $23 per share, and you place a protective stop at 25% away. That's a pretty big stop, right? You allow the stock to go against you if you are wrong about that stock. 25%. Which means that if the price dropped to $17.25, you're out of the trade. Does that make sense, right?
Yes.
You buy at $23, you hope the stock will go up. But if the stock go against you, you will get out when it drops below 25% of your $23 purchase price. Okay, easy, right? So your risk per share in dollar terms is $5.75. That's right. 25% times 23 is $5.75. Since your risk is $5.75, you divide this value into your 1% allocation, which is 1,000, and find that you are able to purchase 173 shares, round it down to the nearest share. So that means for that for that one single idea, if you have a $100,000 portfolio, you can only purchase 173 shares. And if you're wrong, you risk that 5%, 5% or 25% drop, you're risking 1% of your folder. Yes, sir?
I don't understand why you're saying that, because if that's saying that I'm gonna lose all, that shares are gonna be worthless.
No, I'm not.
Because you're saying
I'm
I'm
not.
only buying 173 shares.
Right. You are only risking $1,000, no more than $1,000 of your portfolio.
Into this stock, into this purchase,
Yeah,
into this trade.
into that purchase. If you take 173 divide times 575, it's close to $1,000.
Okay, but I still, because, how do you tie that and the protective stop together? That's where I'm missing, because if I'm
Your
buying,
protective stop is what will get you out if you're wrong.
but,
The whole point of this math calculation is to determine how much you can trade in that one single idea. So that you can say that, hey, I'm risking $1,000, which is 1% of my portfolio. I can only purchase 173 shares if that stock price is $23.
okay,
That's all.
you're buying 173 shares at $23.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Does that make sense? Y'all follow that? So when you are risking that much money, then that's the math calculation you do. But again, if you are doing the options trading, then you have much more leverage. Okay. But then you have to understand the math behind it if you're doing the options trading, because the options trading, it will allow you to control a lot more shares. Because with this example, if you purchase the stock at $23, you buy 173 shares, that's how much money? 120, almost what? Almost $4,000. $4,000. You risk, well, I don't want to say risk, but you're really putting $4,000 into the market, control less than 200 shares. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. But if you're trading options, I can trade 2 contracts, because in option, 1 contract is 100 shares. You have to trade at least 1 contract. And for that 2 contracts, for a $23 stock, that may be, depending on the length of that options, that may be like 50 cents or $1. I only risk $200, okay, or maybe $100, maybe $100, $200. And if it goes up, that maybe 10 or 20%, my return is going to be a lot higher. Does that make sense? Because for this stock, in order to make any sizable move, I'm putting in $4,000. If I make 10%, it's like $400. But when the stock making a 10% move, the option is making a much greater movement.
20 to 25% or more.
Or even higher. But then you have to look at, if you got to remember last year, you have to look at your delta. You have to look at your volatilities and all that. Okay, which I will refresh everyone. For the next 2 classes, I will go into.